Blackwater Ben by William Durbin, Chapter 3. Cositas. Though working in the woods had been Ben's dream, he soon discovered that cooking, dishwashing, carrying water and wood, and doing laundry occupied him from before dawn until after dark. In the slack moments when he might have had a chance to visit the cut, Pa had him mop the floors, fill and clean the kerosene lamps, and organize the supplies in the storeroom. At times, Ben got so tired of his chores that he almost wished he'd stay in school like Mrs. Wilson wanted. On the morning Skip was fired, the cleanup took Ben twice as long as normal. He asked Pa, "You figure on hiring another cookie?" "That's up to the push," Pa said. "It don't matter to me. I fed 50 jacks myself at the camp on Bowstring Lake back in '92. The two of us should be able to handle this outfit." Ben did some figuring in his head as he rinsed off the silverware. There were 20 lumberjacks in camp. Once the ice roads were ready for hauling, the push would hire another 60 men. "How many loaves of bread will we have to bake when the crew gets bigger?" he asked. 2 dozen should do it, Pa said. "Every day? It might take a few more when the Teamsters hire on," Pa said. "Some of them boys are big eaters. Speaking of food, you better run to our supply order over to the clerk's shack." He handed Ben a list. "We're low on just about everything." Ben hung up his apron and headed out the door. A raven called from the top of dead birch at the far end of the clearing as Ben walked. The Blackwater logging camp was laid out in the shape of a rectangle. The cook shack stood at the west end, while the clerk's office and bunkhouse lay along the north side. Directly opposite of the bunkhouse was the filler's shack and the blacksmith's shop. The horse barn stood at the far end, 60 or 70 yards away. Ben hated talking to the lumber camp clerk, Wally Lofquist, because Wally always tried to show off how smart he was. The men called Wally the pencil pusher, and a day never passed without him bragging about how he'd graduated from the 8th grade. "Morning," Ben said. "Pa asked me to. Do you know your Gosintas?" the pencil pusher asked. Ben frowned. "My Gosintas? Is that all you can do, is repeat things? Are you a lumberjack or a parrot?" Wally adjusted the wire-rimmed spectacles on his nose and stared at Ben. Ben blinked at the glare off Wally's bald head. Ben felt like saying, "Why can't you just take this order and leave me alone for once?" But he took a deep breath instead. "I'm sorry, but I haven't heard of Gosinta." "Didn't you ever go to school?" The pencil pusher tapped his finger on the wooden counter. "I finished the 6th grade last spring." "Then you must have learned your Gosintas." Wally put his elbows on the open ledge of the book and glared at Ben. Everyone in camp had to tolerate the clerk because they were working to get a stake in his book. No one got paid until the pencil pusher signed his slip. Ben shrugged. "Is a Gosinta some kind of bird?" "It's certainly not." Wally made a pickle face. "I hope you pay better attention to the work here in this logging camp than you did at school. Anyone with a smidge of education knows how many times 2 Gosintas 4 and 3 Gosintas 12, and like that." "Why, you mean division?" Ben said. "Don't get smart with me, boy." Ben decided it would be a waste of time trying to explain that Gosintas and division were the same thing. "Here's Pa's order," he said. "Order? If you had an order, why didn't you give it to me? I can't be gabbing with every greenhorn gazebo who stops by. I got work to do." Ben trotted back toward the cook shack, shaking his head. Ben had gotten used to the old-timers calling him greenhorn or gazebo, but the one thing he couldn't adjust to was their crabbiness. Ben had considered Pa's the champion grouch until he met Wally Lofquist. Compared to the pencil pusher, Pa was as sweet as a shoe pack pie.